Hey guys, tonight we step back into a world you won't recognize. Not just before cities or writing or agriculture. Tonight we go back 300,000 years to an Earth that barely remembers us. No roads, no borders, no concept of tomorrow. You open your eyes to a planet in flux. Glaciers carve valleys like slow-motion gods. Forests breathe where deserts will one day stretch. And somewhere in the thick heat of Africa, a new kind of human is just beginning to wonder why the stars move. You are Homo sapiens now. Early, raw, unfinished. And just so you know, the odds are not in your favor. So before we go deeper, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're here, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from tonight and what part of history fascinates you most? Now, dim the lights, maybe let the sounds of the world fade just a little, and let's journey together into a time when Earth itself was still deciding what it wanted to be. You wake on hard ground, not dirt exactly, but volcanic ash mixed with clay, still warm from yesterday's sun. The air feels thick, humid, alive, with sounds that don't quite fit together. Insects hum in frequencies you've never heard. Birds shriek warnings you don't understand. Somewhere distant, something massive is breathing. You sit up slowly. Your body feels different. Lighter maybe, or just less certain. Your skull is rounder than those who came before you. Your face flatter. Your brain, just slightly larger, hums with questions you can't yet ask. But inside, something flickers. Not just instinct anymore. Curiosity. The urge to understand. Your first thought is simple. Where am I? Your second thought is more urgent. What wants to eat me? The landscape stretches endlessly. You're somewhere in East Africa, though the name means nothing. The Rift Valley cradles you between mountains that smoke and rumble. Lakes glitter in the distance, vast and blue and teeming with life that hasn't learned to fear you yet. The grass is tall, taller than you in places, and it sways like an ocean. You can't see what moves through it. That's the problem. Everything here is oversized. The trees tower like wooden giants. The termite mounds rise like ancient temples. Even the air feels heavy, pressing down on your shoulders like it's testing your resolve. You're not alone. You know this without looking. There are others nearby. Your kind, maybe, or something close. You hear grunting, a sharp click, the rustle of movement through brush. You stay low, not because you're afraid exactly, but because standing tall here is how you get noticed, and being noticed is how you die. You need water. Your throat is dry, your lips cracked. You can taste salt on your tongue. There's a stream somewhere. You can smell it, not the clean smell of mountain runoff, but the muddy, organic scent of water that's been sitting, brewing, hosting 1,000 tiny lives. You move toward it carefully. Every step is a negotiation. Dry leaves crunch underfoot. Twigs snap. Birds go silent as you pass, which means something else is listening too. You reach the water's edge and crouch. The stream is brown, slow-moving, dotted with insects skating across the surface. You cup your hands and drink. It tastes like earth and algae and something faintly metallic. Your stomach clenches but accepts it. This is survival, not the clean, filtered kind, the raw kind. As you drink, you see them, footprints in the mud, not yours, bigger, three-toed, fresh enough that water is still seeping into the depressions. You freeze. Your heart kicks harder. Somewhere nearby, something very large has been here recently, and it might still be watching. Historians still argue about what megafauna roamed Africa 300,000 years ago, but one thing is certain: you are not the apex predator, not even close. You're clever, sure, you have hands that can grip and throw, you have a brain that can plan, sort of, but you're soft, slow, and utterly defenseless without tools. The predators here are legendary, not the tame zoo versions you'd recognize. These are the ancestors of lions, hyenas, leopards, all bigger, hungrier, less cautious. They've never seen a human with a spear. They've never learned to fear fire. To them, you're just another mammal, small, confused, and probably delicious. You back away from the stream slowly, no sudden movements. You've learned this much already. Fast movements mean prey. Stillness means you're not worth the effort. Maybe. You slip into the cover of a fig tree, its branches low and welcoming. Climbing comes naturally. Your hands find holds without thinking. Your feet grip bark like they've done this a million times before, because they have. Your ancestors spent millennia in trees. It's in your body memory, encoded in your tendons and reflexes. Up here, you're safer. Not safe, but safer. You settle into the crook of a thick branch and finally breathe. The view from up here is staggering. The valley spreads out in every direction, a patchwork of green and gold and shadow. Herds move in the distance. Dust clouds rise where something runs or fights or dies. The sun is fierce, unfiltered by pollution or smog. It burns your skin in minutes. You realize something strange. The sky is different. Clearer, yes, but also bigger somehow. There are no planes, no satellites, no contrails, just blue and cloud and the occasional bird circling lazily on thermals. At night, you'll see stars like you've never imagined. Thousands of them, dense and bright, casting shadows on the ground. The Milky Way won't just be visible, it'll be overwhelming. But that's later. Right now, it's midday and you're hungry. You scan the branches around you. Figs, small and green, cluster near the ends of thin limbs. You edge closer, testing your weight. The branch bends. You freeze. Too much weight and you'll fall. Not far, but far enough to twist an ankle. And a twisted ankle here means death, slow, painful, inevitable. You stretch carefully and pluck a fig. It's hard, unripe, bitter. You chew anyway. It's food, barely. But your stomach stops complaining, at least for now. Below you, movement. You press yourself flat against the branch and peer down through the leaves. A group of figures emerges from the tall grass. Humans, or close enough. They walk upright, carry things, gesture to one another. You watch them with a mix of hope and caution. They might be your people, or they might be competition. Either way, you're not ready to reveal yourself. Not yet. They move with purpose, heading toward the stream. One of them kneels, drinks, then stands abruptly. They've seen the tracks too. There's a moment of tense stillness. Then they scatter, quick and silent, disappearing back into the grass like ghosts. You respect that. They know the rules. Don't linger. Don't assume. Don't wait to see what made those tracks. You stay in your tree as the sun arcs across the sky. The heat becomes oppressive. Sweat drips into your eyes. Insects land on your arms, and you let them. Swatting means movement. Movement means noise. Noise means risk. Quirky fact. Early Homo sapiens likely had darker skin with high melanin content to protect against the intense UV radiation of equatorial Africa. You'd blend into shadows better than you'd stand out in sunlight. A useful trait when everything is trying to decide if you're food. As afternoon fades, the world changes tone. The light goes golden, then orange. Shadows stretch long and deep. The temperature drops slightly, and with it, the landscape exhales. This is the dangerous hour. Predators wake, prey animals become skittish. The margin for error shrinks to nothing. You hear it before you see it, a low, rumbling growl that seems to come from the earth itself. Your entire body goes rigid. You don't breathe, don't blink. Below, moving through the grass with liquid grace, a shape emerges. Massive shoulders, tawny fur, a mane that catches the dying light like fire. A lion. but not the kind you'd see in a nature documentary. This one is bigger, heavier, built for a world without mercy. It pauses near the stream, head low, sniffing the ground. It's tracking something. Maybe the humans from earlier. Maybe you. You press yourself tighter against the branch. Your heart hammers so hard you're sure it can hear it. The lion drinks, slow and deliberate, then lifts its head. For a moment, just a moment, it looks directly at your tree. You stop existing. You become wood, shadow, air. The lion stares. Then, almost lazily, it turns and pads away into the tall grass, swallowed by the landscape as if it were never there. You don't move for a long time, even after the grass stops swaying, even after the birds start calling again. You stay frozen because the lesson is clear. This world does not care about you. It will not pause. It will not wait. You are alive by accident and skill in equal measure, and every single day you have to earn the right to see another. Night falls fast here. There's no twilight, no gradual dimming. One moment the sun is there, the next it's gone, and the world transforms. The temperature drops sharply. You shiver in your tree, arms wrapped tight around yourself. There's no fire, not yet. You don't know how to make it. You've seen it. Lightning strikes that set grass ablaze, volcanic vents that glow red in the distance. But capturing it, controlling it, that knowledge is still out of reach. So you endure the cold. It's not freezing, but it's enough to make your teeth chatter, enough to remind you that comfort is not guaranteed. Around you, the nocturnal world wakes up. Sounds you didn't hear during the day now fill the air. Hoots and howls and weird, chittering calls. Something screams in the distance, high and desperate, then cuts off abruptly. You don't wonder what happened. You know, above, the stars emerge, and they're breathtaking. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a river of light. Constellations you'd barely see in a modern city blaze with clarity. You don't know their names, you don't have names for them, but you stare anyway, feeling something stir inside you. Wonder maybe, or loneliness. It's hard to tell. You are so small beneath that sky, so fragile, and yet you're still here, still breathing, still wondering. That's new, that wondering. Your ancestors didn't do much of it. They reacted, survived, moved on. But you have this strange new capacity to ask why. Why do the stars move? Why does the moon change shape? Why are you here at all? You don't have answers, but the questions themselves feel important. Like they mean something. Like maybe one day someone will figure it out. You drift in and out of sleep, never deep, always half aware. Your ears track every sound, sorting threats from background noise. Twice you jerk awake, certain something is climbing toward you. Both times, it's nothing. Just wind. Just your own fear. By the time dawn breaks, you're exhausted. Your muscles ache from gripping the branch all night. Your mouth is dry again, but you're alive. The sun rises slowly, painting the valley in shades of pink and gold. Birds explode into song. The world reboots, shaking off the danger of night and returning to the dangerous routine of day. You climb down carefully, legs stiff, and head back toward the stream. The footprints are still there, but older now, less threatening. You drink deeply, ignoring the taste. Then you forage. Roots, berries, anything that looks edible. You've learned by trial and error. Some things make you sick, some things kill you. You're lucky so far. You find a patch of wild tubers and dig with your fingers. The earth is hard, stubborn. Your nails crack and bleed. But eventually you pull free a knobbly root, you brush off the dirt and bite. It's starchy, bland, tough to chew. But it's calories, and calories are survival. You're not just hungry for food, you're hungry for connection, for language, for the ability to share what you've seen and felt. But communication is still crude. Grunts, gestures, facial expressions. You can convey danger, food, come here, go away. But you can't say, I was afraid last night, or the stars made me feel small. Those thoughts stay locked inside, swirling in a brain that's still learning how to use itself. You spot another group in the distance, larger this time, maybe a dozen figures moving together. They're coordinated, organized. One of them carries something, a stick maybe, or a sharpened stone, tools. Your heart lifts slightly. Tools mean intelligence. Tools mean survival. You approach cautiously, hands visible, posture low, non-threatening. They see you, heads turn, bodies tense. There's a long moment where anything could happen. Then one of them, an older figure with scars across their chest, nods, just slightly. You're allowed to approach. You join the edge of the group. No one speaks. There's no formal welcome, but you're tolerated, and that's enough. The group moves as one, heading toward higher ground. You follow, matching their pace. They're hunters, you realize, or scavengers, maybe both. They know where to look, where to listen. One of them points toward a cluster of vultures circling in the distance. That's the signal. Something is dead or dying, and if you're fast, you can get there before the hyenas. The group breaks into a jog. You run with them, feet pounding the earth, lungs burning. It feels good to move with purpose, to be part of something larger than yourself. You crest a low hill, and there it is, a massive carcass, some kind of ancient elephant relative lying on its side. The smell hits you first. Death, rot, opportunity. The vultures scatter as you approach, screeching their complaints. The group surrounds the carcass, assessing. The hide is thick, almost impenetrable, but someone has a sharp stone. They begin cutting, sawing through tough skin and sinew. It's slow, messy work. Blood and flies and heat. You help where you can, pulling away strips of meat, handing them to others. It's teamwork, crude but effective. You eat as you work. The meat is warm, rich, heavy on your tongue. It tastes like iron and salt and survival. Your stomach, so used to roots and berries, rebels slightly. But you keep eating. This is rare. This is precious. Historians still argue about how often early humans hunted versus scavenged, but evidence suggests scavenging was common, maybe even primary. You weren't chasing down gazelles with spears. You were following vultures, stealing from kills, racing against time and other predators. It wasn't glorious, but it worked. As you eat, you notice something. The group is watching the horizon, always watching, because meals like this attract attention, and sure enough, you hear them. Hyenas, their eerie, whooping calls echoing across the valley. They're coming. The group doesn't panic. They've done this before. They grab what they can carry and retreat, moving quickly but not running. Running triggers chase instincts. The hyenas arrive in a snarling, snapping pack. They descend on the carcass, tearing into it with terrifying efficiency. You watch from a distance, clutching your strip of meat. You got what you needed. Barely, but you got it. The group settles in the shade of an acacia tree. There's a brief moment of rest. People chew, grunt, share. Someone picks at their teeth with a twig. Another examines a cut on their arm. You sit slightly apart, still not fully integrated, but no longer a stranger. You've contributed. You've earned your place, at least for today. The days blur together. You move with the group, learning their rhythms. Wake at dawn, forage, follow herds, avoid predators, rest when you can, sleep light, repeat. It's exhausting, but there's a strange comfort in routine. You're no longer alone, and that matters more than you expected. Language begins to emerge, slowly, awkwardly. Not words exactly, but sounds with meaning. A sharp hiss means danger. A soft hum means safe. A grunt, followed by pointing, means look there. It's primitive, but it's communication, and communication changes everything. You can warn each other, plan together, share knowledge. You learn which plants to avoid by watching someone else get sick. You learn where water collects by following someone who remembers. Memory becomes currency. The one who remembers survives. The one who shares helps others survive. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you're becoming something new, not just individuals, a community. But community brings complications. There's hierarchy now. The strongest eat first. The fastest get the best spots to sleep. The smartest, the ones who remember where food grows, gain respect. And respect is power. You're somewhere in the middle. Not a leader, but not ignored. You contribute enough to matter. You watch and learn. You see conflicts handled with shoves, snarls, sometimes violence. A man takes food from someone weaker. The weaker one protests. There's a scuffle, brief and brutal. The stronger one wins. No one intervenes. That's the rule. Strength or speed or cunning, those are your protections. Fairness doesn't exist yet. Survival does. You learn to read faces, body language, intentions, who can be trusted, who takes without giving, who watches your back and who watches for weakness. It's exhausting in a different way. Not physical, but mental. Social survival is its own challenge. One evening, something changes. Someone, you're not sure who, carries a glowing branch from a lightning-struck tree. Fire, captured fire. The group gathers around it, mesmerized. The flames dance and crackle. Heat radiates outward, pushing back the cold night. For the first time, you feel warm after sunset, truly warm. It's transformative. People move closer, faces lit by flickering orange light. The fire becomes the center, the gathering point. Someone throws on dry grass and it flares bright. Someone else adds sticks. The fire grows, and with it, something shifts. You're no longer just surviving the night. You're defying it. The fire keeps predators at bay. You see eyes glinting in the darkness beyond the light, but they don't approach. Fire is power. Fire is safety. Fire is magic. You're only beginning to understand. People start cooking. Someone tosses a chunk of meat near the flames. It sizzles, smokes, transforms. The smell is intoxicating. You try a piece. It's softer, easier to chew, somehow richer. Your teeth, usually aching from tough raw food, get a break. Cooking is a revolution you don't yet have words for, but you feel it. This changes everything. Historians mark the control of fire as one of humanity's greatest leaps. It gave warmth, protection, and cooked food, which made nutrients more accessible and freed up energy for brain growth. You don't know that. You just know your belly feels fuller and your mind feels clearer. That night around the fire, something else happens. Someone makes a sound, not a grunt or a warning, a sound for its own sake. Rhythmic, repetitive, others join in, clapping, humming, a kind of proto-music. It's not sophisticated, but it's intentional, creative, expressive. You join in, tapping a stick against a rock. The rhythm syncs. For a moment, the group is unified not by danger or hunger, but by something new. Joy, maybe, or at least its ancestor. You lie down that night closer to others than usual. The fire crackles between you and the darkness. You feel safer than you ever have. Not completely safe. That doesn't exist here. But safer. You close your eyes and for the first time in weeks, you sleep deeply. The world continues its dangerous spin. But tonight, for this one moment, you're part of something. You're home or as close to it as this world allows. Tomorrow will bring new hunger, new dangers, new uncertainties. But tonight, you have fire, and that makes you human in a way you weren't before. The seasons shift, not like you'd recognize them. There are no calendars, no names for months, just wet and dry, hot and cold, green and brown. The rains come suddenly, violently. The sky darkens and splits open. Water pours down in sheets, drenching everything. The earth turns to thick, sucking mud. Rivers swell and overflow. What was dry ground yesterday is a rushing torrent today. You huddle under a rocky overhang with the group, watching the deluge. There's nothing to do but wait. Foraging is impossible. Fires sputter and die. The world becomes a cold, grey blur. People shiver, pressed together for warmth. Skin slick with rain, clothes, if you can call them, that soaked through. You've learned to weave rough shelters from branches and broad leaves. They help a little. But water always finds a way in, dripping, seeping, pooling beneath you. You sleep damp and wake damper. The rains bring other things too. Insects explode in number. Mosquitoes swarm in clouds. They bite relentlessly, leaving itchy welts that you scratch until they bleed. Disease follows. People get sick. Fevers, chills, weakness. Some recover, others don't. You watch someone waste away over days, their body shaking, eyes glazed. The group moves them to the edge of the shelter, not cruelly, just practically. Resources are limited, attention is limited. If you can't keep up, you're left behind. It's brutal, but no one questions it. That's the rule. The rains also bring life. Plants explode in growth, flowers bloom, new shoots push through the mud, animals grow fat on the abundance. Herds migrate back to the valley, following the greening grasses. The world feels generous, at least briefly. You forage with new energy, filling your belly with fresh roots, wild vegetables, even a few protein-rich insects that are suddenly everywhere. The group thrives during the wet season, despite the discomfort. Babies are born, not many, but enough. You hear their cries, thin and wavering. They're fragile, unbelievably so. Tiny bodies with huge eyes and no defenses. Most won't survive. Childhood mortality is staggering, but the ones who do, they'll carry forward whatever you've learned. That's the hope anyway. Then the rains stop. As suddenly as they began, they vanish. The sky clears. The sun returns with a vengeance. The wet earth bakes hard. Puddles evaporate. Rivers shrink to trickles. The green fades to brown. Welcome to the dry season. Resources tighten. Water becomes the priority, the obsession. You travel farther each day, following ancient paths to waterholes that might still have moisture. Some do, some don't. When you find water, you drink as much as you can hold, then fill whatever containers you fashioned from gourds or animal bladders. Every drop is precious. Food becomes harder to find. The abundance of the wet season feels like a dream. Now it's back to roots, bitter leaves, the occasional scavenged kill. People lose weight. Faces become gaunt. Tempers shorten. Conflicts increase. Someone steals food. There's a fight. Blood is spilled. The group fractures slightly. Some leave, heading toward distant mountains or lakes. Others stay. You stay. Not out of loyalty exactly, but because splitting off alone feels more dangerous than enduring the tension. Quirky fact. Studies suggest early human populations were small, fragmented, and constantly on the edge of extinction. Climate shifts, droughts, and predation kept numbers low. You're not thriving as a species yet, you're barely holding on. The dry season tests everything: your endurance, your ingenuity, your will to keep going when every day is hard and the next looks harder. You learn to dig deeper for roots, to crack open bones for marrow, to chew bark for moisture. You learn patience because rushing wastes energy, and energy is the one thing you can't afford to lose. The group becomes quieter, less playful. People move mechanically, focused entirely on survival. The fire still burns at night, but the gatherings are subdued. No rhythmic clapping, no shared sounds, just tired bodies collapsing into sleep. You lie awake sometimes, staring at the stars. They haven't changed, still bright, still indifferent. You wonder, in your limited way, if this is all there is. Wet, dry, hunger, relief. Repeat until you don't. It feels endless, but then, just when it seems unbearable, the rains return, the cycle continues. And with it, you continue, battered, thinner, older in ways that have nothing to do with years, but alive. Still alive. The group gathers around the fire one evening. The rains are coming soon. You can smell it in the air. There's a tension, but also anticipation. You've done this before. You'll do it again. Someone passes you a piece of cooked tuber. It's small, barely a mouthful, but you nod thanks. You chew slowly, savoring it. Around you, faces flicker in firelight, scarred, weathered, exhausted, but human, unmistakably human. You're writing a story you don't even know you're telling, a story of survival, adaptation, and the stubborn refusal to give up. It's not glorious. There are no heroes here, just people trying to see tomorrow. And somehow, against all odds, you do. Years pass, though you don't count them. You don't even think in terms of years. Time is measured in rains and dry spells, in scars accumulated, in people lost. The group you joined is different now. Some faces are gone. New ones have appeared. Children born during the rains are now walking, learning, contributing. You're older, not old, but no longer young. Your body carries the evidence. Your joints ache in the cold. Your teeth, worn and cracked from years of chewing tough food, throb constantly. One molar is loose. You wiggle it with your tongue, knowing eventually it'll fall out, and when it does, eating will become even harder. Your skin is scarred. Cuts from thorns, bites from insects, a long raised line across your forearm from a fight you barely remember. Each mark is a story, a moment survived. You wear them without pride or shame. They just are. You've learned so much. How to read the land, the sky, the behavior of animals. You know when storms are coming by the way birds fly. You know which trails predators favor by the patterns in the grass. You know how to fashion better tools now. Sharper stones, handles bound with sinew. You're not clumsy anymore. Your hands move with confidence. You've become skilled, not a master, but competent. And competence keeps you alive. You've also learned the limits of your body. You can't run as far as you once could, can't climb as quickly. Your eyesight is still sharp, but your reactions are slower. You compensate with experience, with caution. You take fewer risks. Let the younger ones chase the scavenger opportunities. You focus on steady, reliable foraging. The group respects you now, not as a leader, but as someone who knows things. Who remembers. When someone finds an unfamiliar plant, they bring it to you. You sniff it, touch it, sometimes taste a tiny bit. Then you nod or shake your head, yes or no, safe or dangerous. You've become a keeper of knowledge, and that's a kind of power. But you've also seen the cost. You've watched people die. From illness, from injuries, from predators. You've seen children born and lost within days. You've seen fights turn deadly. Once, you watched someone fall from a tree while gathering fruit. They landed badly. Spine bent in a way spines shouldn't. They screamed for hours, then went quiet. The group moved on the next day. There was nothing to be done. No medicine, no surgery, just acceptance. You've learned to grieve quickly. There's no time for prolonged mourning. You feel the loss sharp and immediate, then you move on. Because stopping means dying, and you're not ready for that yet. You've also learned the rhythms of the human body in ways modern people never will. You know hunger intimately, not the skipped breakfast kind. The days without food kind, the kind where your body starts consuming itself, where your thoughts slow and your movements become dreamlike. You know thirst, real thirst, the kind where your tongue swells and your lips crack and every thought is water, water, water. You know cold, the bone-deep kind that makes sleep impossible, that makes you shake so violently you can't hold anything. And you know heat, the oppressive, inescapable kind that bakes you from inside out, that makes the air shimmer and your head pound. But you also know relief, the moment rain touches your lips after days of thirst, the first bite of meat after a week of roots, the warmth of fire after a freezing night. These moments are vivid, overwhelming, more intense than anything a modern human experiences because the contrast is so stark. Suffering makes relief sweeter. That's the trade. One evening around the fire, something remarkable happens. A young person, maybe 15 years old, picks up a flat stone. They find a sharp rock and begin scratching. Lines appear, crude, deliberate. They're drawing. The group gathers, curious. The young person scratches the outline of an animal, something with horns, a buffalo maybe. It's rough, abstract, but it's recognizable. There's a collective sound, not quite a gasp, but close. Something shifts in the air. This isn't practical. It's not a tool or a shelter or food. It's art, representation, imagination made visible. The young person looks up, uncertain, waiting for reaction. You lean closer and nod. You don't have words for what you're feeling, but you understand somehow that this matters, that this is different, that humans are becoming something new. Others try. More scratches, more lines, a handprint, a circle, random marks that nonetheless feel intentional, meaningful. You watch, fascinated. You're witnessing the birth of symbolic thought, of art, of the human need to leave a mark, to say, I was here, I saw this, I felt this. Historians will find these marks thousands of years later. They'll date them, study them, build museums around them. They'll call them the earliest human art. But to you, it's just a moment, a strange, wonderful moment where someone decided that surviving wasn't enough. They needed to create. As the fire burns low, you lie back and stare at the sky. Your body aches, your tooth throbs. Tomorrow will bring hunger and danger and exhaustion. But tonight, you saw someone draw a buffalo on a rock, and somehow that makes everything feel different, like you're not just surviving anymore, like you're becoming. The world changes, slowly, imperceptibly. You don't notice it year to year, but over generations, the shifts accumulate. The climate cools slightly. Ice grows at the distant poles. Sea levels drop. Land bridges emerge, animals migrate, and humans, your kind, follow. You hear stories now, not detailed ones, but fragments passed person to person, about groups who walk north, about different lands with different animals, about endless cold and strange white ground. You don't understand ice, you've never seen it, but the idea lingers. Somewhere out there, the world is different. The group debates. Should you stay or go? The valley is familiar, but resources are thin. Competition with other groups is increasing. Maybe elsewhere is better, or maybe it's worse. No one knows. Eventually, a decision is made, not democratically. The strongest voices push for movement, and the group follows, because unity, even uncomfortable unity, is safer than fracturing. You pack what little you have. Tools, fire-making materials, dried food, and you walk. The journey is long. Days blend into weeks. You travel through landscapes that shift and change. Grasslands give way to woodlands. Woodlands thin into scrubland. Rivers must be crossed, mountains skirted. Every day brings new challenges, strange animals you've never seen, plants you don't recognize, weather that behaves differently. You learn to adapt, always adapting. It's what humans do best. You meet other groups. Some are friendly, or at least neutral. You trade knowledge, tools, even people. Someone from your group joins theirs. Someone from theirs joins yours. Gene flow, historians will call it. The mixing that keeps populations healthy. But to you, it's just survival strategy. Bigger groups are safer. New people bring new skills. Other encounters are hostile. Territorial disputes, resource competition. There's shouting, posturing. Once, violence. Rocks thrown, clubs swung. People are injured, one dies, your group retreats, moves on, the memory lingers. You learn that not all humans are allies. Sometimes humans are the danger. As you travel, you notice something. The world is bigger than you imagined, endless. Every horizon reveals another horizon. You wonder if it ever stops. If there's an edge somewhere, you'll never know. Your journey will end long before you reach any edge. But the question itself is significant. You're thinking beyond immediate survival. You're wondering. Curiosity, that ancient engine, is driving you forward, not just toward food or safety, toward knowing. Quirky fact. Genetic studies suggest Homo sapiens left Africa in waves, starting around 70,000 years ago, but earlier attempts probably happened too. Some groups left and died out, others left and thrived. You might be part of a wave that doesn't make it, or you might be the ancestor of billions. There's no way to know. You cross a vast, dry plain. Water is scarce. People suffer. Lips crack. Skin blisters. One elder, too weak to continue, sits down. They wave the group on. No tears, no drama, just acceptance. You pause, meet their eyes. You nod. They nod back. Then you walk on. Hours later, you look back. They're a small shape in the distance, then they're nothing. The plain eventually ends. You find water, a miracle spring bubbling up from underground. The group camps there for days recovering. People drink until they're bloated, bathe for the first time in weeks. The mood lifts slightly. Rest is precious, but rest can't last. Resources around the spring deplete quickly, and staying too long invites conflict with other groups. So you move again. Always moving. You reach a coastline. The first time you see the ocean, you stop, speechless. It's incomprehensible. Water, more water than you've ever imagined, stretching forever. It moves, breathes, roars. The smell is sharp, salty, alien. You approach cautiously. The waves rush up and you jump back, startled. Others laugh. It's the first laughter in days. You laugh too. Embarrassed, but also delighted. This world is full of wonders. The coast offers new resources. Shellfish, crabs, tidal pools teeming with life. You learn to pry open shells, to crack them against rocks. The meat inside is strange, slimy, salty, but nutritious. The group thrives here for weeks. The ocean, terrifying and generous, becomes a new teacher. You watch the tides, puzzled by their rhythm. In and out, in and out. You don't understand the moon's pull, but you notice the pattern, and patterns mean predictability. Predictability means you can plan. You're becoming more sophisticated without realizing it. One night, someone points at the moon, then at the tide. They make a connection gesture, moving their hand back and forth. Others watch, considering. The discussion is wordless but intense. Is the moon controlling the water? How? Why? You don't have answers, but you're asking the questions. That's revolutionary. You're not just reacting to the world anymore. You're trying to understand it, trying to find connections, causes, meanings. You're becoming scientists, philosophers, humans, in the fullest sense. The group doesn't stay at the coast. Eventually, the restlessness returns. What's beyond the next hill, the next valley? You pack up, say goodbye to the ocean without ceremony, and walk inland. The landscape changes again. Trees grow denser. The air becomes humid, thick. You're entering a forest, not the open savanna you knew. This is darker, closer, more claustrophobic. The canopy blocks the sun. Strange sounds echo from above. Monkeys chatter, insects drone, something large crashes through the undergrowth unseen. The group slows, uneasy. This terrain is unfamiliar. The rules are different here. You learn to navigate by sound and smell more than sight. You learn which vines are safe to grab, which have thorns or sting. You learn that water collects in certain plants, that some tree barks are edible. It's a new education. Adaptation again. Always adapting. The forest tests you in new ways. Diseases are different here. Parasites you've never encountered. Someone develops a fever and strange lesions. They scratch until they bleed. The group watches helplessly. No one knows how to help. The person weakens, becomes delirious, then dies. Fear ripples through the group. Is it contagious? Should you leave the body or bury it? You bury it, shallow and quick, then move on. The forest feels hostile now, like it's actively trying to kill you, but you push through because turning back feels like failure, and humans don't turn back. You emerge from the forest after what feels like forever. The landscape opens into rolling hills, golden in the late afternoon sun. The relief is overwhelming. Space, air, light. People actually smile. You camp on a hilltop that night. The fire burns bright. Someone starts the rhythmic sounds again. Others join. It's tentative at first, then stronger. You're celebrating survival, another challenge overcome. You look around at the faces. These people are your family now, not by blood necessarily, but by shared experience. You've suffered together, starved together, feared together. That creates bonds stronger than genetics. You trust them in ways you couldn't trust strangers. And they trust you. This is tribe. This is community. This is the foundation of everything humans will become. As you lie down to sleep, you think about the journey, how far you've come from the valley where you woke. That place feels like a dream now. Was it real? Did you really live there? The details are fading, memory is imperfect, but the essence remains. You were there, you survived, you moved on. Tomorrow you'll keep moving, because that's what humans do. You're not the fastest, not the strongest, not the most specialized, but you're the most adaptable, the most persistent, the most curious. And that, it turns out, is enough. Years pass, many years. You're old now, properly old. Your hair, what's left of it, is grey. Your face is deeply lined. Your body, once capable and strong, has betrayed you. Your knees barely bend. Your back is permanently stooped. Your hands shake. Most of your teeth are gone. Eating is a challenge. You gum your food, rely on soft roots and scraps of cooked meat. The group takes care of you mostly. They bring you food, help you walk. You're no longer productive in the traditional sense. You can't hunt, can't forage far, can't carry loads. But you're valuable in other ways. You remember. You remember more than anyone. You remember plants that made people sick 50 years ago. You remember where water can be found during droughts. You remember the stories, the fragmented histories passed down from others who are long dead. You're a living library, and in a world without writing, that matters. Young people sit with you sometimes. They don't have language for it, but they're learning. You point at plants and make sounds. Safe, dangerous, food, poison. They watch your face, your gestures. They're memorizing. When you're gone, they'll carry what you know. That's how knowledge survives. You've seen things young people can't imagine. You've watched the world change. Herds that used to migrate through the valley no longer come. Some animals you remember have disappeared entirely. Whether they died out or just moved, you don't know. The climate has shifted. Rains come at different times. Dry seasons last longer. The world is in flux. Always in flux. You've outlived most of your generation. The faces you knew when you were young are gone. Claimed by predators, disease, accidents, old age. You're a survivor. Not because you were the strongest or the smartest. Just because you were lucky. Luck and stubbornness. You refused to die. Day after day. Year after year. You just kept going. Now finally, you're tired. Not the exhausted tired of a hard day. The deep tired that settles into your bones and won't leave. You know what's coming. You've seen it in others. The gradual slowing, the loss of appetite, the drift towards stillness. One morning, you don't get up. Your body simply refuses. The group gathers around you. Concerned faces peer down. Someone offers water. You take a small sip, but swallowing hurts. You wave them away gently. They understand. They've seen this before too. They settle nearby, not hovering, just present, keeping you company. As the day passes, your mind drifts. Memories surface, random and vivid, the taste of your first cooked meat, the terror of that lion by the stream, the cold nights before fire, the moment you saw the ocean, the young person drawing on stone, faces of people long dead, suddenly clear and close. You realize something. You had a life, a full, complex, difficult, occasionally beautiful life. You weren't just surviving, you were living, experiencing, feeling, wondering. You were human, fully human. As the sun sets, your breathing changes, slower, shallower. The group notices, someone touches your hand. You try to squeeze back, can't quite manage it, but the intention is there. Thank you, I see you, I was here with you. The stars come out. Those same indifferent stars you've stared at for decades. But tonight, they feel different. Closer maybe, or you're farther away. It's hard to tell. Your breathing slows more, longer pauses between breaths. The fire crackles nearby, warm, safe. You can hear the group murmuring softly, the sounds of life continuing, as it should. Your last thought, if it can be called a thought, is simple. It was worth it. All the pain, the fear, the hunger. Worth it, for the moments of warmth, for the taste of water after thirst, for the sight of a hand-drawn buffalo on stone, for the presence of others, for being alive on this strange, beautiful, terrible planet. Then quietly, between one breath and the next, you stop. The group notices. Someone makes a soft sound, not quite grief, more like acknowledgement. You were here, now you're not. They'll remember you for a while, then they won't. Your name, if you had one, will be forgotten. Your face will blur in memory. Eventually, it'll be like you never existed. But that's not quite true, because you passed on knowledge. You taught. You survived long enough that your experiences mattered. Maybe someone in that group carries your bloodline, maybe your genes, your specific combination of adaptations will flow forward through generations. Maybe someone 300,000 years from now will have your eyes or your stubbornness. There's no way to know, but the possibility exists. You were a link in a chain, not special, not chosen, just one human among millions. But you mattered. The group moves on the next day. They bury you, shallow and quick, marked with a pile of stones. Then they walk away, because life, relentless and insistent, continues. And humans, your humans, have places to go, worlds to discover, futures to build. They carry fire now. They carry tools. They carry language, crude but growing. They carry art, the desire to create. They carry stories, fragmented memories of before. They carry everything you and countless others taught them. They're still fragile, still prey to predators and disease and climate shifts, still capable of dying from infected cuts or bad water or simple bad luck, but they're learning, adapting, surviving, and occasionally thriving. Fast forward, not all the way, just a little. Tens of thousands of years, the world has changed again. The ice has advanced and retreated multiple times. Coastlines have shifted, species have risen and fallen, and humans, those persistent, curious, stubborn humans, have spread. They're in Europe now, in Asia, pushing toward every corner of the continent. They've met other human species, Neanderthals, Denisovans, others whose names will never be known. Sometimes they fight, sometimes they trade, sometimes they mate, mixing genes in ways that will echo through millennia. They've learned to sew clothing, real clothing with needles made from bone. They've built sophisticated shelters, semi-permanent structures that can withstand harsh winters. They've developed complex language, real language with grammar, syntax, metaphor, humor. They can say, I was afraid, and the stars made me feel small, and I love you, and what happens when we die. They can share not just information, but feelings, ideas, dreams, fears. The inner life has become expressible. They've created religions, mythologies, elaborate explanations for the inexplicable. They don't understand thunder or earthquakes or why some babies are born and others aren't. But they've stopped accepting mystery without question. They demand answers, so they create them. Gods and spirits and ancestors who watch from the sky. It's not science, not yet. But it's the beginning of the need to know, to understand, to make sense of chaos. They've buried their dead with ceremony now. Elaborate rituals, flowers placed carefully in graves, tools and jewelry included, suggesting belief in an afterlife, in continuation beyond death. They're not just surviving anymore, they're contemplating existence, mortality, meaning, purpose. They're philosophers without knowing the word. They've created music, real, sophisticated music, bone flutes with multiple holes, drums made from hollowed logs and stretched hide, voices harmonizing in complex patterns. They gather around fires and sing, not for survival, but for joy, for connection, for the pure pleasure of sound and rhythm and shared experience. Music binds them, creates emotional resonance, strengthens social bonds. They've painted caves, not just scratches on stone anymore, elaborate, detailed, breathtaking images covering entire rock walls, animals in motion, human figures, abstract patterns that might be maps or calendars or pure imagination. They've turned underground chambers into galleries, into sacred spaces, art for art's sake. Beauty for beauty's sake, the human soul expressing itself in ochre and charcoal. They're telling stories now, epic ones passed down through generations, refined and embellished with each telling, stories of heroes and monsters, of creation and destruction, of ancestors who walked with gods and shaped the world. The stories aren't true in a literal sense, but they're true in deeper ways. They bind communities, they teach values, they answer unanswerable questions, they make life meaningful in a universe that offers no inherent meaning. And still, they suffer. Still, people starve and freeze and get sick and die too young. Life expectancy is still barely 30. Infant mortality is still devastating. Accidents still kill. Predators still hunt, though less successfully now. Disease still ravages communities, sweeping through with no understanding of contagion or treatment. Life is still hard, brutally, relentlessly hard, but it's also richer, more meaningful, because humans have learned to create meaning, to impose order on chaos, to find beauty in a world that doesn't promise beauty, to love in a universe that doesn't require love, to hope when hope makes no logical sense. They've become storytellers, artists, dreamers, philosophers, while remaining hunters, gatherers, survivors, fighters. They contain multitudes. Another jump forward, to agriculture, to the moment everything changes again. Someone, somewhere, gets tired of following herds and searching for wild plants. They notice that seeds dropped near camps sprout into new plants. They notice that some areas naturally produce more food, and slowly, tentatively, they experiment. What if we stayed? What if we planted on purpose? What if we controlled our food supply instead of chasing it? The first gardens are accidents, really, seeds scattered near waste pits. But the concept takes root, literally and metaphorically. Groups start staying longer in productive areas, start deliberately planting, watering, protecting crops, start thinking in seasons, in cycles, in harvests. Agriculture is born. And with it, everything changes. Population grows. When you can store food, more babies survive. When you can predict your food supply, you can plan, build, invest in the future. Permanent settlements emerge, not just camps you abandon after a few weeks, real villages with structures meant to last years. Property becomes a concept. This land is ours. This field, this storage pit, this house, ownership, territory, boundaries, ideas that would have been meaningless to nomadic ancestors. But now they matter. They matter intensely, and they cause conflict. Other groups want your land, your crops, your stored food. You have to defend it. Violence increases, organized violence, not just individual fights, but group against group, raids, battles, territory wars. Humans have always been capable of violence, but now they're organized about it. Warfare, in its earliest form, emerges. Social complexity increases too. In nomadic groups, everyone did a bit of everything, but in agricultural societies, specialization begins. Some people are better at farming, others at making tools, others at organizing, leading, deciding. Hierarchy becomes more pronounced. Leaders emerge, not just the strongest or fastest, but the most politically savvy, the best talkers, planners, manipulators. Religion becomes more organized. Priests emerge, specialists in the sacred, intermediaries between humans and gods. They don't hunt or farm. They perform rituals, interpret omens, bless crops, and in return they're fed, protected, respected. It's the beginning of a professional religious class. Art becomes more sophisticated. Pottery, weaving, metal, working, eventually. Humans shape their environment in entirely new ways. They're not just using what nature provides, they're transforming it. Clay becomes vessels. Fibers become cloth. Eventually, rocks become metal. The pace of change accelerates. What took 100,000 years before now happens in thousands, then hundreds. Technology builds on technology. Knowledge accumulates faster. Writing emerges, finally giving humans a way to store information outside of memory. The first writing systems are simple, tallies, records of grain and livestock, but the concept is revolutionary. Knowledge can now outlive the knower. A person can die, but their words remain. History becomes possible. Cities rise, actual cities with thousands of people living in close proximity. Babylon, Memphis, Mohenjo-Daro, centers of trade, culture, power, disease. Because living close means disease spreads fast. Sanitation is terrible. Water is often contaminated. Life expectancy in cities is actually lower than in rural areas for centuries. But cities offer other advantages: safety in numbers, economic opportunity, cultural richness. So people accept the trade-offs. Empires form, groups of cities under single rulers, armies marching under common banners, trade networks spanning thousands of miles. Humans who will never meet are connected by chains of exchange. Silk from China reaches Rome. Spices from India reach Scandinavia. The world is still vast, but it's shrinking. Philosophy blossoms. In Greece, China, India, Persia, thinkers start asking fundamental questions. What is justice? What is truth? What is the good life? How should we live? Why are we here? They don't agree on answers, but the questions themselves mark a new level of consciousness. Humans aren't just surviving or even thriving, they're questioning everything. Science begins its long, slow emergence, not yet the rigorous method that will come later, but observation, experimentation, the search for natural explanations. Greek philosophers propose atoms, Indian mathematicians develop zero, Chinese inventors create paper, printing, gunpowder. Knowledge accumulates slowly, unevenly but steadily, and still most people live hard lives. Farmers working from dawn to dusk, laborers building monuments they'll never benefit from. Women dying in childbirth, children dying from diseases that will one day be easily cured. Slavery, oppression, inequality are the norm. The grand arc of human achievement is built on the backs of countless suffering individuals. That's the uncomfortable truth. Progress has always been uneven, unjust, paid for by those with no choice. Another jump to now. to you standing in that supermarket. Fluorescent lights hum above you. The air smells like refrigeration and artificially ripened fruit. A child is crying faintly in aisle 7. Someone nearby is whispering angrily into a Bluetooth earpiece. Somewhere overhead, a soft, forgettable pop song is playing. You're not sure which century it is anymore. It changes so fast. You look down at your hands. They're clean, soft even. Your nails are short, manicured maybe. Your fingertips aren't stained with blood, dirt, or ash. You pick up a plastic-wrapped box of strawberries. In winter, in a country that doesn't even grow them. You stare at it for a long time. Then you laugh. Not bitterly, just with recognition. Because this is the future. This abundance, this safety, this absurd comfort. And yet, you're still fundamentally that creature from 300,000 years ago. The wiring hasn't changed that much. You wander the aisles in a daze. You're surrounded by food, endless food. More food than your ancestors could have imagined in their wildest dreams. Shelves stacked with things you can't even name. Labels covered in smiling cows, cartoon bees, and promises like low-carb, gut-friendly, sustainably sourced. You don't know what half of it means. You don't need to. It's all available all the time. There are no predators here. No rain-soaked nights shivering in trees. No saber-toothed cats hiding behind the bananas. No hyenas competing for your kill. And yet you feel uneasy, anxious. Your nervous system doesn't know what to do with this safety. It's wired for danger, for scarcity, for the constant threat of death. Modern comfort confuses it. You reach for a loaf of bread. The plastic crackles under your fingers. It smells faintly of nothing, preserved and processed and designed to last weeks without molding. You put it down, slightly disturbed. Your body is different now, technically. Your brain has grown more complex. You've mapped the genome, split atoms, sent robots to Mars, created artificial intelligence. You can video call someone on the other side of the planet. You can access nearly all of human knowledge from a device in your pocket. You've achieved things that would seem like actual magic to your ancestors. But the ancient wiring is still there. The old code running beneath the new software. The fight or flight reflex that doesn't know what to do when the threat isn't a lion but an awkward social interaction. The hoarding instinct that can't differentiate between storing food for winter and accumulating stuff you don't need. The tribal thinking that creates us versus them when there's no survival reason for it anymore. Historians and psychologists call it evolutionary mismatch. Your body and brain evolved for one world, but now exist in another. And the gap creates friction, stress, confusion. Your heart doesn't know the difference between spotting a predator and getting a critical email from your boss. It races either way. Your stress hormones flood your system whether you're being chased by a lion or stuck in traffic. Your body can't tell the difference. It just knows. Threat, react, survive. But modern threats don't resolve quickly. You can't fight traffic, can't flee your mortgage, can't hide from existential dread about climate change or political instability or the general sense that everything is moving too fast and you can't keep up. So your stress response stays activated, chronically, exhaustingly. Your ancient survival system, once so useful, now works against you. You feel lonely despite being constantly connected, because connection now means screens and text messages and carefully curated social media posts, not sitting around fires sharing food and stories and silence, not the physical presence of bodies, warm and real and breathing beside you. Your brain craves the old connections, the deep ones, face to face, skin to skin, voice to voice. Pixels don't satisfy that hunger. Video calls help, but they're not the same. Your nervous system knows the difference. You seek status, even when you know it's meaningless. You compare yourself to others constantly, tracking who has more money, success, followers, whatever the currency is. Because in the ancient world, status meant survival. High-status individuals got more food, better mates, more protection, so your brain is wired to care desperately about where you rank, even though in the modern world, your survival doesn't actually depend on it. You could be low status and still live comfortably, but your brain doesn't believe that. It panics anyway. You overeat when food is available because famine is written into your bones. Every ancestor who didn't gorge during abundance died during scarcity, so you inherited the genes that say, eat everything now, store fat, you might not eat tomorrow, except tomorrow you will eat. You'll eat 3 meals plus snacks, but your body doesn't trust that. It hoards anyway. Then you feel guilty for overeating, which adds psychological stress to physical overconsumption. You can't win. You feel anxious without obvious cause. No lions chasing you, no rival tribes attacking, no immediate life-threatening danger. And yet, anxiety hums in the background constantly because your threat detection system evolved to be oversensitive. Better to jump at 10 shadows than miss the one real predator. False alarms were survivable. Missing the real threat was fatal, so you inherited a nervous system that jumps at shadows, worries about unlikely scenarios, catastrophizes. It kept your ancestors alive. It makes you miserable. You feel the pull of nature. Even if you live in a city, even if you rarely leave, something in you needs green space, natural light, the sound of water, the smell of earth. Because you evolved in nature, you're built for it. Every system in your body expects it. Concrete and steel are too new. Your biology hasn't adapted yet. Maybe it never will. Being disconnected from nature creates a low-level stress you might not even notice. But it's there. Studies show time in nature lowers blood pressure, reduces anxiety, improves mood. Your body knows what it needs. You long for simplicity, for clear goals you can accomplish with your hands, for problems with obvious solutions. Because for most of human history, problems were concrete. Find food, build shelter, avoid predator, stay warm. Success or failure was immediate and obvious. Now problems are abstract, complex, interconnected. Climate change, economic inequality, political polarization. You can't punch them, can't run from them, can't solve them individually, so you feel helpless despite having more power, resources, and knowledge than any human in history. But here's the thing, the complicated, contradictory thing. You're also capable of incredible things. That same brain that kept your ancestor alive in the Rift Valley has achieved miracles. You've eradicated diseases that killed millions. You've doubled human lifespan. You've created art that moves billions. You've built systems of law and justice, imperfect but real. You've developed the scientific method, democracy, human rights. You've looked at the stars your ancestors wondered about and figured out what they are, how far away, what they're made of. You've sent machines to other planets to explore on your behalf. You've taken pictures of black holes. You've decoded your own DNA. That same capacity for cooperation that helped your ancestors hunt has built global networks of trade, communication, and collaboration. Scientists across the world share data instantly. Artists from different continents influence each other. People who will never meet are connected in ways that matter. That same storytelling instinct that helped your ancestors teach and bond has produced literature, film, music, theatre that captures the full range of human experience. Shakespeare, Toni Morrison, Bach, the Beatles, Miyazaki, Beyoncé, humans telling human stories, making meaning, creating beauty because that's what humans do. You contain all of it. The ancient fears and modern dreams, the tribal instincts and global awareness, the animal needs and transcendent longings, the petty jealousies and genuine compassion, the capacity for terrible violence and profound love. You're a walking contradiction, and that's okay. That's human, always has been. So standing here in this supermarket, holding these impossible winter strawberries, you make a choice. You can lament the disconnect, mourn the simplicity lost, resent modern life for not matching your ancient wiring, spend your time anxious, stressed, feeling like you don't fit anywhere. Or you can marvel that you're here at all. That an unbroken chain of survivors stretching back 300,000 years and far beyond led to you. That every single one of your ancestors survived long enough to reproduce. Through ice ages and droughts, through predators and plagues, through wars and famines and random accidents that could have ended the line at any moment. They all made it. Everyone, not one break in the chain. And here you are. The answer to their efforts, the culmination of all that struggle, adaptation, stubbornness. You're what they were building toward, whether they knew it or not. You put the strawberries in your cart. You walk through the aisles, marveling quietly at the absurdity and wonder of it all. You nod at a stranger. They nod back. A moment of connection, brief but real. The same kind of acknowledgement your ancestors gave each other around fires. I see you. You're here. We're in this together. You buy your food. More food than you need because you can. Because it's there, because your ancient hoarding instinct still whispers that scarcity might return. You step outside into sunlight. The sky above is the same sky your ancestors stared at. Different satellites visible now, different planes crossing it, but the same vast, indifferent, beautiful expanse. The same sun that warmed them warms you. The same moon that pulled their tides pulls yours. You take a breath. The air is different, cleaner in some ways, polluted in others, but it fills your lungs the same way it filled theirs. Oxygen molecules entering your blood, keeping you alive for one more moment. The same chemical process, the same biological miracle. You walk forward, one foot in front of the other, the same way humans have always moved, toward the horizon, toward the unknown, toward whatever comes next, because that's what you do. That's what humans have always done. You adapt, you persist, you wonder, you ask questions that might not have answers. You create meaning where none is given. You tell stories to make sense of chaos. You gather, literally or metaphorically, and share what you've learned. You take care of each other imperfectly but genuinely. You leave marks, digital or physical, saying I was here. I mattered. I tried. The planet has changed unrecognizably since that early morning 300,000 years ago. Continents have shifted. Species have risen and fallen. Ice ages have come and gone. The very composition of the atmosphere is different now, changed by your presence. But you haven't changed that much. Not fundamentally. You're still that creature waking up in East Africa. Still fragile, still mortal, still uncertain about almost everything, but also still curious, still creative, still capable of finding beauty in a world that doesn't promise beauty, still capable of love in a universe that doesn't require love, still capable of hope when hope makes no logical sense. You're still human, with all that implies, the good and bad, the noble and petty, the brilliant and foolish. You're capable of incredible compassion and terrible cruelty, sometimes in the same day. You can write poetry and wage war, build hospitals and build bombs, save species and drive them to extinction. You contain all possibilities, and that, despite everything, or maybe because of everything is enough. The journey isn't over. Your species is still evolving, still adapting, still writing its story. You don't know how it ends. No one does. Maybe you'll solve the big problems, climate change, inequality, disease. Maybe you'll reach the stars, spread beyond this one fragile planet. Maybe you'll create new forms of life and consciousness. Maybe you'll transcend biology entirely, upload yourselves into machines, become something unrecognizable to your ancestors. Or maybe you'll fail. Maybe you'll destroy yourselves, another species that burned bright and fast and then was gone, added to the long list of evolutionary dead ends. The universe won't care either way. It didn't care about the dinosaurs. It won't care about you. But while you're here, you get to decide what you do with your time, what you create, what you destroy, what you pass forward. Your ancestors passed forward fire and language and art and agriculture and science and the stubborn insistence on surviving even when survival seemed impossible. What will you pass forward? That's the question. That's always been the question. And tonight, in this moment, you're still here to answer it. You're still part of the story. Still writing your chapter in a book that started long before you and will continue long after. That's both humbling and empowering. You don't matter as much as you think, but you matter more than you know. So rest now. Let the ancient fears quiet. Let the modern anxieties fade, at least for tonight. You've done what your ancestors did. You survived today. You made it through. You helped where you could. Hurt less than you might have, tried your best with imperfect information, and tomorrow, if you're lucky, you'll wake up and do it again. That's enough. That's always been enough. The fire still burns metaphorically in hearths and hearts, and the collective effort to keep civilization running. You're still gathering around it, sharing stories, passing knowledge, keeping each other warm. The methods have changed. The medium is different, but the core impulse is the same. We're in this together. We're all just trying to make it through. Trying to find meaning. Trying to matter. Good night, fellow traveller, fellow survivor, fellow human. The journey continues. It always has. From that first morning in the Rift Valley to tonight, right now, wherever you are. The story is still being written, and you, improbably, impossibly, miraculously, are part of it. You always have been. Sleep well.